Lawyer Choi Chung-hwan, a partner at Lee & Co., is known as an influential figure among Korean lawyers all over the world. He was the first Korean to become a member of the IBA Management Board, serving from 2014 to 2018. At present, he is president of the International Association of Korean Lawyers, IAKL, and president-elect of the Law Association for Asia and the Pacific, LawAsia. On Heart to Heart, we will hear from lawyer Choi Chung-hwan, who keeps himself busy as he follows the global trend of our time. Recently, lawyers from all parts of the world gathered here in Seoul, Korea, where two major events were held, one after the other. The events were annual conferences, each hosted by the IAKL, International Association of Korean Lawyers, and IBA, International Bar Association. Today, we are joined with lawyer Choi Chung-hwan, who was lately occupied with running both conferences. Hello and welcome to Heart to Heart.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hello.
Hi.
I understand that you were on our show about 10 years ago?
Yes, I was invited this program, I think it's about 10 years ago.
About 10 years ago. Well, welcome back to Heart to Heart.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you. Now, as I have given an introduction, you must have been incredibly busy running these two conferences. Could you tell us a bit about the conference and how you have contributed to the events?
Well, first of all, IAKL conference is a conference for all Korean descendant lawyers all over the world. So this year we had more than 480 attendees.
I see.
From over 28 countries. And IBA is a International Bar Association conference. It's for all lawyers, not only Korean lawyers, all lawyers from all over the world. And attendees were over 6,000.
That's an amazing number.
Yes.
I see. So could you maybe give us an introduction to IBA, the International Bar Association, and also when did Korea become a member? When did Korea join?
IBA, I could describe it as a UN.
A UN.
In global legal world. So IBA was established in 1947, and now it's largest lawyers association in the world, having more than 185 lawyers association as association member, and also have more than 80,000 individual members.
I see. And when did Korea become a part?
Korea joined IBA in 1957.
So just 10 years after
10 years
IBA
after
was established.
the establishment.
I see. Now, I understand that you are the only Asian lawyer to have been elected as a member of the IBA Management Board. So how did you become involved in IBA?
Well, the first time I attended IBA was 2009, so not long ago. I was at the time vice president of Korean Bar Association, and I attended IBA as a representative of Korean Bar Association. And when I attended the conference, the Korean lawyers attending the conference was, I would say, less than 20.
Oh,
So a very small number of Korean lawyers were attending IBA at the time. And also Korean Bar Association was not so active.
I see.
So, but in 2009, we were preparing for the legal market opening. Korean legal market was opened in 2011. So that was 2 years before the legal market opening. So we actually tried to find various ways to protect
I see.
Korean legal service industry. So we believed at the time one of the way might be to more aggressively involved in IBA. So that's how I started to get involved in an IBA.
Okay.
And there was election in 2014 to elect the IBA board member. They call it Management Board. So I actually had no intention to stand for the election because I attended IBA only 5 years.
From 2009.
Most of other candidates, they attended IBA more than 10 years, 15 years, almost 20 years. But many of my IBA colleagues strongly encouraged me to stand for the election because on the management board, as you said, there was no Asian lawyers representing Asian lawyers' voice. So I decided to stand for the election, and I got elected.
Yes.
So I served 4 years in the IBA Management Board, and during my service, IBA decided to host annual conference in Seoul, and then I became the chair of organizing committee of IBA, and that's why I got involved.
Great responsibility. Now, you said that in 2009, the Korean Bar Association wasn't very active. But thanks to, I'm sure, a lot of changes have been made.
Yes.
And they're much more active now. So the annual IBA conference was held in Korea for the very first time this year. So tell us about the annual IBA conference that was held here in Seoul.
Well, IBA normally has more than 230 sessions.
Oh, that many.
In 5 days. Every day lawyers gathered at sessions and discuss on the new issues, trend, changes, and also we also discuss for human rights and rule of law issues as well.
All right. Could you also maybe tell us about some of the, sessions? I mean, you did mention that there were about 230 sessions.
Right.
So were there sessions that were different or even events that were different from those that people were able to, take part in the previous conferences?
Okay. I would say that one of the goals we would like to achieve through this conference as Korean lawyers was to show the world, the global legal world, on the Korean status of rule of law and human rights of this society. And the other one was to show how Korea has been, fighting to defend our freedom and our democracy against the authoritarian and communist regime in the north. So we created 2 special sessions handling North Korean issues.
Ah, I see.
So one session handled North Korean human rights situation, and one session was about war crime liability of North Korea during the Korean War. And also we did prepare a special lunch conversation program, and we invited 2 North Korean defectors to those programs so that the conference attendees from all over the world could listen to their life story and their horrible experience in North Korea. And that was quite highly appreciated by the attendees.
Then what might be some of the, most appealing outcomes we could expect to see as a result of the 2019 IBA annual conference that was held in Seoul?
In this conference, we successfully arranged Korean speakers, more than 170 Korean speakers spoke at the session among 230 sessions. So I would say that that was good introduction of Korean legal community and Korean law experts to outside world, and much appreciation of the capability and quality of Korean lawyers.
Yes. Okay, about now, I think it would be a good time for us to take a peek at the Seoul IBA Annual Conference. So we'll be back right after this. Recently, the IBA Annual Conference was held in CHOI, Seoul. Also called the Lawyer Olympics, the IBA Annual Conference is the legal profession's largest international event.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the IBA Korea Host Committee, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome all of you to Korea.
CHOI Chung-hwan, chairman of the organizing committee for the Seoul IBA Conference, braced himself for the event since last year. The IBA Annual Conference is an opportunity where lawyers from all over the world can interact with each other in one location. The IBA Annual Conference in Seoul built hope that the Korean legal market could make a name for itself overseas. So we just had a brief look at the Seoul IBA Annual Conference that was held just recently. And I'd like to ask you about some of the comments, the feedback that you received from people. Yes, share with us some interesting stories, behind-the-scenes stories.
I see. Well, it was very interesting and a pleasant surprise to hear that most of attendees at IBA conference, they really liked Korea and Seoul. And so I asked many of them the reason why they like Seoul, and their answers and feedbacks were quite beyond my expectation. Many of them talked about the warmth of Korean people and kindness of Korean people.
What we call Chung.
Chung and
Korea, yes.
happy smile of
I
Korean
see.
people. You know, actually, I didn't know that we Koreans are so kind. Now, especially young people,
Yes.
they told me many interesting stories when they tried to catch taxi after dinner. Always young Korean
They would approach
approach
them.
and ask them, you need help. They try to help them
Yes.
with happy smile. And I heard good story that one of the attendee asked the direction, and the Korean young guy worked with him for 30 minutes
Oh, that's amazing.
and took him to the hotel.
That's
So
amazing,
a
yeah.
lot of good stories, and that I didn't expect.
Yes, I think it's one of the most interesting things and something that sticks with you, especially when you go to a country for the first time, you're there as a visitor, and people approach you to help you with a big
Yeah,
smile
yeah.
on their faces.
Right.
So I'm very proud of our younger generations out there.
And there is a value and good things that we Koreans, especially people living in Seoul, didn't realize.
Yes.
Such as how clean the Seoul is, and no homeless people on the street, and no graffiti on the wall. I think that was kind of big surprise to the foreign visitors.
Things that we don't often think about on a daily basis. These are things that people recognize.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
very
yeah.
much,
That was
and
quite
remember.
interesting.
All right, that's great. Now let's shift our focus to the IAKL, which is the International Association of Korean Lawyers. So this conference, the annual conference, was also held in Seoul very recently. So tell us about this conference.
IAKL was established in 1988 in New York. That was a small friendship gathering among Korean lawyers and Korean American lawyers, the first generation Korean American lawyers. And then it has been expanded, and now we have more than 3,000 lawyers in over 23 countries. And we gathered once a year, once in Korea and once outside Korea.
Ah, I see.
So it has been 30 years, and it is still growing.
Well, the number has definitely grown.
Yes.
Yes, 3,000 members. So I'm sure since it's an annual conference that's held, the theme changes
Right.
every year. What did you discuss this year at the conference?
This year's theme was Beyond Korean Heritage. For last 30 years, IAKL has been trying to find out more Korean descendant lawyers in different countries, and then try to get them connected and invite them to our annual conference and be friends. And also we encourage Korean lawyers in each jurisdiction to set up their own association or gatherings. So that's why we have now so many lawyers and the members. But now, after 30 years, we reached a point. We already set up very strong platform
Yes.
for Korean lawyers, Korean lawyers and Korean descendant lawyers. So we thought it's a good time to think about our future and our vision in next 30 years. So one of the things we first did was to open our memberships. So far, only Korean descendants gathered, and we talk about Korean issues.
For 30 years, that's
For
how
30
it's been.
years. But from now on, we decide to open our membership to non-Korean lawyers as well. Any lawyers who have interest in Korea or Korean practice. So we changed our constitution, the membership requirement, and also we try to invite more non-Korean lawyers to this conference, so that throughout this platform of Korean descendant lawyers, we can do more good work, and we can contribute more to make better work. So that was the reason why we chose the theme Beyond Korean Heritage.
Now, there are Korean lawyers residing in Japan, and Korean lawyers that are residing in Japan have been subjected to discrimination, especially due to the deteriorating Korea-Japan relations. And I understand that this issue was discussed at the conference as well.
Right.
So could you perhaps elaborate on this, expand on this, tell us?
This year at our conference, we had more than 15 Korean Japanese lawyers. Currently in Japan, there are more than 200 lawyers who passed Japanese bar exam. Some of them converted their citizenship to Japan,
Yes.
but many of them still have Korean citizenship. Actually, half of them have Korean citizenship, and half of them have North Korean citizenship.
I see.
But they unified in Japan, and they set up one lawyers association. So that's why calling Korean Lawyers Association in Japan, not South Korea or
I see.
Republic of Korea or North Korea. So, but they worked hard for the interest of Korean community in Japan, and they provide legal aid to any Koreans suffering difficulty and discrimination. But because of recent, relations
Yes.
between Japan and Korea, few Japanese, right-wing Japanese, they filed malicious disciplinary petition to Japanese Bar Association and District Bar, local bar association to stop the lawyer's license of Korean Japanese lawyers. And under the Japanese rule, there must be hearing to deal with this petition. So many of Korean Japanese lawyers, they suffered difficulties in attending hearing and defending themselves. So they now taking retroactive actions against the Japanese who filed the petitions by filing damage lawsuits
I see.
against them. So it is becoming more and more controversial issues in Japan.
Yes, it is it is a very sensitive issue. We hope we will see positive outcomes very soon. Now, since we are on the topic of IAKL, you did mention earlier that there are 3,000 members from 230 parts countries. You're obviously keeping very, very busy and active, along with the members and the member countries as well. You are currently the president of IAKL.
Yes.
And I'd like to ask you how it all started for you. How did you get involved with IAKL?
Well, it was by incident.
By incident?
No, it's as I said, it was because of one of the contributors'
I see.
effort. I had a chance to work in U.S. law firm in San Francisco, and first day I got a phone call, and a person speaking very poor Korean told me that, 저도 한국 사람이에요. I'd like to invite you to lunch. So I said, why not? And we went out and having lunch. And during the lunch, he kept telling me about IAKL and how important this organization is and how valuable the experience he received from this organization. So that was the first time I heard about IAKL. And that time it was small organization having only 150 attendees in the conference. So I got involved and I prepared the conference and I served as Secretary General for 14 years.
Oh, wow.
And during that period, I prepared all the annual conference, which were held in Seoul. And that was why how I got involved in KBA and got involved in IBA. So that was quite interesting that those small, incidental meeting totally changed my life.
Well, you say that, of course, it may have begun with that incidental meeting, but you've mentioned earlier it's all about being aggressive. And I think you were able to, you had the passion, the energy, motivation, and you were very aggressive
Thank you very
in
much.
achieving what you hope to achieve. So tell us a bit about how you started to work in a U.S. law firm in, was it Los Angeles and LA?
Well, after I became a lawyer in Korea, I went to NYU Law School to study further, and especially because I was interested in entertainment law. I went NYU Law School and I studied about art law, broadcasting, copyright, and those laws. So after my study, I had a chance to work in different law firms in different countries. I was lucky. So I went LA and San Francisco, and I went Netherlands and Belgium and Japan as well. And those experiences still very invaluable to me.
Very interesting. So you have been active in many, many different activities across Korea and, of course, across the world. Now, could you share with us your perspective on Korean lawyers, entering the global or overseas legal markets, and also your prospect as well?
I would say that Korean lawyers, they are well educated and they passed very competitive bar examination and very smart. Especially young lawyers these days, many of them are bilingual and very smart. But the problem is once they pass the bar exam, because of this license, they try to stay inside Korea and try to practice on domestic laws. But I would say that the world is large and world is flat. And because of this, market opening, Korean lawyers can work in many other foreign jurisdictions. So I would encourage our young lawyers, especially in IAKL, our young members, to get connected with other lawyers working overseas, and try to help them to go outside.
I'd like to thank you so much for your time today, and I'd like to thank you for those that are watching right now. Perhaps, you're opening up opportunities and opening doors for people, and I'd like to thank you once again for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Just as the Korean wave has expanded the Korean culture, K-pop, K-food, K-beauty, and K-fashion, we hope to see many more competent Korean lawyers exert their global influence. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time.